I work as a cybersecurity specialist in Sydney, and my life mostly consists of endless lines of code, defending corporate networks, and quiet analytical work in the shadows. I wasn't always this confident IT bloke respected in the corporate world. My childhood was spent in a rough, working-class suburb on the outskirts of Newcastle, where the only things that mattered were brute physical strength and knowing how to hold your own in a pub brawl. I grew up as a quiet, scrawny kid who found his only escape from that harsh reality in an old, beaten-up computer gifted by a neighbour. My mum raised my little brother and me entirely on her own, working her guts out as a cleaner at the local pub. Her tired hands, permanently red and cracked from harsh bleach, and her constant, apologetic smile are burned into my memory forever. Every time I saw her sitting at the kitchen table crying as she counted our pathetic loose change to pay the bills, I made a silent vow to myself. I swore that one day I would drag our family out of that miserable black hole and never let my loved ones go without again. While the blokes my age were doing burnouts in their utes, getting into fights and getting on the piss, I spent days locked in my room staring at a monitor, teaching myself programming languages from scratch. My knowledge became my invisible armor, my golden ticket to a life where bills are paid on time and the future doesn't fill you with blind panic. Breaking into Sydney's elite cybersecurity scene purely through my own stubbornness finally made me feel like a real man. To me, protecting digital networks from hackers wasn't just a job. It was a deeply personal philosophy. I was used to guarding the things I cared about, staying in the background as a silent, invisible protector. When Sienna walked into my life blindingly gorgeous, fiercely ambitious, and full of confidence, I honestly couldn't believe my luck. She seemed like the exact missing piece I needed to fill my overly structured, digital life with real emotion and light. Deep down, I was still that insecure kid from a housing commission block, and the love of such a stunning woman felt like the ultimate prize. I genuinely wanted to give her the world, shield her from any storms, and offer her the absolute financial freedom I had been deprived of. I thought true love was proven through actions, by willingly carrying the heavy loads and being a rock-solid foundation for your partner. I never once whinged about the endless overtime, sitting in front of screens until my eyes were bloodshot and burning. I did it happily, knowing that every defensive algorithm I wrote made my wife's life just a little bit more comfortable and secure. I worshipped her and truly believed our marriage was built on absolute transparent honesty, where we were always playing for the same team. In my simple view of the world, loyalty was unconditional. It didn't require constant checking or humiliating doubts. I handed her the keys to my heart and my life, never entertaining the thought that she would use them merely as tools for her own selfish gain. I was so used to professionally defending the external perimeters of soulless corporations that I completely forgot to build basic firewalls around my own soul. This blind, pure faith in her intentions turned me into the perfect, unsuspecting target. I was too blinded by my desire to be the perfect husband to notice the rotting lie taking root right inside my own home. 6 months ago, my wife Sienna dramatically quit her mediocre retail job, boldly declaring she wanted to become an independent entrepreneur. She decided to launch her own boutique consulting agency, and I backed her dream 100%. I voluntarily took on absolutely all the financial responsibilities for our expensive Sydney apartment and living costs so she could focus entirely on her startup. Soon enough, she started bringing home massive amounts of cash, bragging about generous VIP clients and buying up designer handbags. Sienna was constantly flying up to the Goldie for what she called exclusive networking conferences. And I was genuinely proud of her sudden, roaring success, thrilled that my wife had finally found her calling. With the end of financial year fast approaching, Sienna asked me to help her set up her brand new work MacBook Pro and migrate her data from her old devices. Her weekend started with a tender kiss and yet another request for tech support. "Babe, my old laptop just can't handle these massive tax spreadsheets anymore," Sienna cooed with a sweet, apologetic smile, placing a fresh cup of coffee in front of me. "I told you the business is growing way too fast. I really need this new Mac for my investor meetings," she added, gently rubbing my shoulders. "No worries, darl. I'll get it all synced up and transfer your files while you're at Pilates." I readily agreed, genuinely happy to see her professional growth. Just please don't open any of my work folders. It's strict confidentiality and trade secrets for my VIP clients, she warned, playfully wagging a manicured finger at me. I'm a professional, Sienna. I only migrate the archives. I don't go snooping through corporate secrets, I chuckled, giving her a kiss goodbye. As soon as the front door clicked shut behind her, I opened her old laptop and initiated the standard data migration process to the new device. I sat at the kitchen bench, sipping my lukewarm coffee, proudly watching the loading bar and thinking about how driven my wife was. Suddenly, the peace of that quiet morning was shattered by a soft but persistent notification chime. On the screen of the old MacBook, which I hadn't wiped yet, a push notification suddenly popped up from a hidden messenger disguised as a system app. The text message, which flashed on the screen for just a couple of seconds, was incredibly explicit. Can't wait to see you in that black lingerie again. The room at the Ritz is already paid for. Right next to the text blinked an attachment icon that looked suspiciously like a premium hotel booking confirmation for the upcoming weekend. I froze, feeling like I'd just been struck by lightning, unable to tear my eyes away from the vanished notification. Trade secrets for VIP clients? I whispered hollowly, feeling the blood rapidly drain from my face. My professional intuition instantly sounded the alarm, and a heavy, icy knot formed in the pit of my stomach. In that exact moment, my cybersecurity brain automatically shut down all my emotions, shifting me straight into threat breach mode. Bypassing her basic passwords and two-factor authentication took a specialist of my caliber literally a couple of minutes. My fingers flew across the keyboard with terrifying speed until I gained full administrative access to this secret chat. When I opened the encrypted app, my picture-perfect world violently crashed down right onto that kitchen bench. Inside, there were absolutely no contracts, marketing strategies, business plans, or corporate consulting emails. Her entire inbox was flooded with dozens of message threads from wealthy, older married men generously paying for her time and her body. I read through price lists for her services, discussions of twisted fantasies, and receipts for massive cash transfers that made me physically nauseous. So, this is what your networking conferences on the Gold Coast look like, I said with dry lips, staring at the explicit photos she had sent her investors. This entire fairy tale about the independent boss babe I had so genuinely admired rotted away right before my eyes. I realized with primal horror that her booming business was nothing but a front for her secret life as a high-end escort and sugar baby, and all her business trips were just paid weekends away with her lovers. Instead of flying into a blind rage and smashing her expensive new laptop to pieces or running into the living room screaming accusations, I switched into the mode of an absolute cold-blooded machine. My lungs burned like I was inhaling toxic smoke, and my heart beat a dull, painful rhythm against my ribs. For the first few minutes, I just wanted to howl from the unbearable agony, snap that damn computer in half, and hurl it at the wall. The woman I had worked night shifts for, the one I considered the entire meaning of my existence, turned out to be a cheap, bought and paid for illusion. Every single line of her filthy texts with her clients left a deep, bleeding gash on my soul. I remembered how gently I used to hold her before sleep, terrified of disturbing her exhaustion after launching her startup. What a pathetic, trusting, blind idiot I had been this whole time. That thought alone could have driven me insane, but years of habit dealing with critical system vulnerabilities suddenly took over my emotions. My cybersecurity mind erected a firewall, blocking out the pain and leaving nothing but an icy, calculated thirst to totally eradicate the threat. Using my professional skills, I created an encrypted backup of every single vile chat, every photo, and every bank transaction. My fingers danced across the keyboard with surgical precision, extracting gigabytes of her disgusting double life onto a secure external hard drive. I forced myself not to look away from a single intimate photo, making myself drink this bitter poison right down to the dregs. I wanted this sickening residue to permanently burn away any lingering scraps of love or pity I had for this hypocritical predator. I compiled an ironclad digital dossier of her hidden life, completely reconstructing the money trail of her income. I tracked every single cent transferred to her, tracing IP addresses and the hidden accounts of her so-called sponsors. My anger morphed into a methodical, terrifying sense of purpose. I breached her email and found her travel itineraries, which matched up down to the minute with the business trip schedules of her most generous benefactor. Analyzing the transfers, I discovered that her main investor, the sugar daddy funding the lion's share of her luxury lifestyle, was the high-profile married CEO of a major Sydney construction company. This highly respected bloke was funding her designer bags and business-class flights while his own wife was at home raising their 3 kids. It made me sick to my stomach seeing how rotten this glamorous world of successful people really was, hiding such absolute filth behind their perfect facades. I realized my revenge wouldn't be complete if only my lying wife suffered the consequences. This arrogant sponsor needed to pay the price for destroying my family with his dirty money too. While Sienna was out at another fake business lunch, I anonymously contacted the CEO's wife, sending her a portion of the irrefutable evidence so she'd know exactly where her family's money was going. I set up an encrypted burner email and attached the most explicit text exchanges between her husband and my wife. Clicking send, I felt a dark, twisted sense of satisfaction. I had just triggered a chain reaction that, within a few hours, would completely obliterate this smug millionaire's reputation and bank accounts. I knew how bloody divorce proceedings get for people with that kind of wealth, and I gladly tossed that grenade right into their perfect mansion. My hands were no longer shaking. In fact, I felt an incredible surge of power. I had become the director of this play, and now they were all going to dance to my script. After that, I cold-bloodedly met with my lawyer, signed the divorce papers, and started prepping for the pretentious brand launch party she had forced me to pay for. Sitting in the lawyer's leather chair, I spoke evenly and without a trace of emotion, as if I were reporting on neutralizing a malware attack on a server. The solicitor was absolutely blown away by the quality and sheer volume of the digital evidence I had compiled in just a few hours. He assured me that with this level of proof, this fake businesswoman wouldn't see a single cent of my honestly earned savings. I walked out of the office into the sunlit street and smiled, anticipating my upcoming triumph. Sienna had begged me for months to throw a massive launch party for her brand, and I was going to give her exactly what she asked for. I was going to give her a presentation this snobby city would remember for years to come. This glamorous launch party was held at a rented rooftop bar with stunning views of Sydney Harbour, packed with all her arrogant influencer mates and her incredibly proud parents. Waiters in crisp white shirts tirelessly circulated with trays of expensive caviar and premium champagne, all of which I had blindly paid for out of my own pocket. Guests clinked crystal glasses, loudly discussing my wife's incredible financial genius and her meteoric rise in the cutthroat world of consulting. I stood quietly in the shadows by the bar, sipping a whiskey and watching this festival of absolute hypocrisy with ice-cold composure. Sienna, wearing a jaw-dropping designer gown, stood at the microphone in the center of the room, delivering a teary-eyed, arrogant speech about female independence, hard work, and how she built her empire from scratch. She thanked the universe for her unique talent and confidently spun fairy tales about sleepless nights drafting brilliant business strategies. Her parents were practically glowing with pride, while her friends live-streamed this triumph to thousands of their followers. I looked at her flawless makeup and fake smile, feeling nothing but a cold anticipation for the spectacular finale about to drop. When she dramatically clicked the remote to reveal her brand new website on the giant projector for the first time, my pre-written script took over. The lights in the venue dimmed perfectly on cue, and all those admiring eyes turned to the massive, glowing canvas of the projector screen. But instead of her beautiful logo, the giant screen displayed massive screenshots of her intimate escort price lists, hotel bookings with her investor, and the bank receipts proving the true source of her wealth. A text exchange flashed across the 3-meter display, detailing exactly what kind of lingerie her main sponsor wanted to see her wearing at the hotel that night. The next slide automatically loaded her secret bank statements, where multi-thousand-dollar transfers were accompanied by sleazy notes from wealthy, married clients. The luxurious venue was instantly plunged into a heavy, paralyzing, and absolutely dead silence. The sound of a shattering glass, dropped by her horrified mother, echoed like a gunshot in the dead quiet. Her influencer mates frantically lowered their phones, completely unsure how to react to the fact that their independent boss babe idol was actually just a high-end sugar baby. In a blind panic, Sienna started frantically clicking the remote, desperately trying to turn the projector off, but my script had completely locked her out of the control system. Her beautiful face contorted in genuine animalistic terror as she realized her fake empire was collapsing in front of the entire city. In the deafening, shell-shocked silence of the bar, I calmly walked up to the stage and handed her the divorce papers. She stared at me with wide, terrified eyes, shaking pathetically in her expensive dress bought with dirty money. Taking the microphone from her trembling hands, I announced to the entire crowd that her main sponsor's wife was currently freezing all of his assets, leaving her fake empire and her reputation in absolute humiliating ruins. Your investor is currently tied up in a very messy divorce, so your generous funding is officially cut off. My voice echoed evenly across the rooftop terrace. I dropped the microphone on the floor, turned my back on her, and walked toward the exit under the stunned gazes of the crowd, leaving her choking on the tears of her own public humiliation. Riding the elevator down to the ground floor, I finally felt how easy and free it was to breathe without that toxic weight of betrayal dragging me down. What do you reckon? Was this public digital takedown too brutal, or did she deserve every single second of humiliation at that party? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, smash that like button, and subscribe to the channel, because we've got plenty more shocking tales of revenge coming your way.